Hi, my name is Shree, and welcome to the review side of Terminator 1 and Terminator 2. If you want to watch the reaction part of both of these movies, you can check out my main channel, Shree Nation. Link will be in the description box below. First of all, I'm so sorry for being late with my reviews this past 2 weeks. My mom got sick, and I kind of had to deal with some doctor's appointments here and there, so I didn't get time to actually film and edit this. I actually wrote it down. So to make up for this time lost, I decided to do a comparison review of both Terminator 1 and Terminator 2. Since I have reacted to both movies on my main channel, Shree Nation, I thought now would be the perfect time to do kind of like a joint review. I'm gonna do the same for Die Hard 1 and Die Hard 2, which I've also reacted to, so stay tuned for that. First off, let's talk about the obvious difference here. We all know how to distinguish between the cinema and a blockbuster. There might be an overlap sometimes, but there is a clear distinction between the two. A cinema can make us ask questions, is there to kind of evoke an emotion, and is often low budget. A blockbuster is exactly what the name sounds like. It's got all sorts of action, it's a roller coaster ride, and it's like a studio wrote a blank check and said, go nuts. Well, Terminator 1 and 2 is a perfect example of both. While the first movie is like an indie, low-budget sci-fi horror, it delivers on its promise and it keeps you on the edge of your seat. And for its time, Terminator 1 did have some good practical effects and some green screen, but Terminator 2 goes all in. It has some fantastic action sequences and like groundbreaking special effects that are talked about to this day. We saw some great action sequences and some helicopter chases that only big studio money can buy. It's insane that how different these two movies are, coming from the same franchise. Before I even watched the two movies, people in my comment section on my main channel kept having this debate on which movie was better, Terminator 1 or Terminator 2. Most people said that Terminator 2 was a far better and superior film, but some maintained that Terminator 1 was actually the superior one because it gave us a unique experience and story. While writing this review, I couldn't help but see these two movies as two separate entities. Like T2 was not a sequel, but almost like a remake, a fresh take on a previous story. I mean, sure, we're following the same story with Sarah Connor and Kyle Reese, but everyone on T2 felt so different from the first, with Arnold moving away from the dark side and going from like this very inhumanly large-sized Terminator to a still intimidating, but like a normalized version of Terminator. We now have a militant Sarah Connor instead of like a meek one. We have a teenage John Connor and a new robot that is the stuff of nightmares. I was pleasantly surprised at how different the two Terminator movies are and how amazing Terminator 2 was as a sequel in itself. Even though it was a Hollywood action extravaganza, because with these kinds of movies, studios tend to meddle with big budget stuff, but they are both are perfectly standalone films on their own. So moving away from that debate of which movie is better, let's talk about both movies' familiar elements. I said before that I felt like Terminator 1 was a horror movie with many slasher and stalker elements, and Terminator giving off like a Michael Myers vibe with his relentless chase and a stoic mask, which started to come off and become a distorted face, just like the Halloween killer. Terminator 2 maintained this strategy, but moving away from the horror slasher genre to an almost supernatural element. The T-1000 was faster, stronger, smarter, and he could shapeshift into any other human form or animal and was nearly indestructible. This kind of shapeshifting and turning into a liquid or solid form or vapor form dates back to like shamanism or movies like Wolfman or Dracula, where he can absorb the bullets and regular bullets can't kill them, and he can transform or shapeshift into a bat or a wolf or water vapor. I don't know about the other sequels, but the horror element in both Terminator 1 and 2 is what makes them stand out from other sci-fi robot plotlines. One thing that's different about Terminator 2 from Terminator 1 is that T2 is actually funnier than 1, and it doesn't seem to take away from the film. Terminator 1 was a more serious and straightforward story, which was basically just running away from the killer robot every chance you get. But Terminator 2 had several smaller storylines going on besides the main plot line, which was running away from the T-1000. It gave more room for Sarah Connor to grow, where before in the movie, like in the first movie, she was like helpless and didn't know what was going on, to becoming harsh and determined, almost like a Terminator. It was only her humanity that brought her back from destroying herself. There was also Arnold's transformation from the bad guy to the good guy, which didn't feel odd at all because he was a machine, and the paradox loop that was going on with Skynet. Everything was being explained right as the movie was going on. With Terminator 1, it didn't have room or time for that many plot lines. It's good because the first Terminator laid the stage for these kinds of stories to flesh out and leave more questions. And boy, the Terminator 2 deliver on those questions. Now let's talk about the budget of these movies. Terminator 1 was made with a $6.4 million budget, which in today's terms would be $17.8 million roughly. Terminator 2 in 1991 was made on a whopping $102 million budget, which today would amount to $212.5 million or something. The difference is astronomical. You can also feel it when you see the two films, but what's amazing about Terminator 1 is that it in no way does it feel like a low budget movie. For its time, it had great car chases, an insane police precinct shootout scene, and practical effects that felt realistic, especially when the Terminator was like showing its true self and taking some damage. With Terminator 2, even when it relied on CGI, it didn't feel wrong to the eyes because today's over-reliance on CGI gets a bad rep. But for its time, it not only looked amazing, it actually looked gorgeous at times, with shots of the T-1000 morphing back into a human shape. Nothing like the dark and muddy colors we see today with like so many CGI shots in every film. In the end, both movies delivered on their promises and rightfully immortalized themselves in cinema history. What did you think about both these movies? Did you like part 1 or part 2 or both? What did you like or dislike about both these films? Leave in the comments below. Thank you for helping me reach 200 subscribers here on this channel, and also for supporting me on my main channel. But if you're new here, you can go to my main channel, Shree Nation, and check out reactions to both Terminator 1 and Terminator 2. Link will be in the description box below. Make sure to subscribe and stick around for my combined Die Hard 1, 2, and 3 movie review. That's right. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope I didn't waste your time. See you next week.